So many trans families don't make it because the dads aren't on board. They gotta fucking figure out why they're afraid.
The thread that connects us all is that we love our children and are willing to put everything in the line for other people's children as well.
I would love for you to explain to our audience, what the premise of the DADS is about.
So the DADS is about 6 fathers, 5 fathers of trans kids, and Dennis Shepard, who take a weekend fishing trip that changes their lives. And these 5 fathers of trans kids come from different geographies, races, experiences, ages, but they find this common purpose, this common ground, which is the unconditional love for their children.
I'm sure that these dads, may have been their first time, expressing themselves. Was that an easy thing to get them to talk about what has been going on in their lives? Did it take a little coaxing, or were they prepared for this?
Honestly, these are fathers, all of whom I knew except for one, because we work alongside each other as parents for transgender kids on the Parents for Transgender Equality Council for the Human Rights Campaign. And I've seen how these dads show up not just for their kids, but for all kids. So when I invited myself along on their trip to the woods, we already had this level of trust and comfort with each other. And I made sure to keep a really small crew so that we could just blend into the background. Now, not all of them knew each other, but they knew at least one other person in the group. And it was amazing. There was no prompting. They just jumped right in. And I think they had been hungering for an opportunity to talk to one another. And it can be such an isolating individual journey. I think there was real power in coming together and being able to share, even their deepest fears or biggest regrets.
Dads have that masculine image they want to try and keep up. They have to get out and speak. They have to show people that they support their child 100%.
It was important for me as a father to speak out.
I remember when Matthew Shepard was killed, and to see how it's Dennis is his father, how even 20 years later, he's still standing up for his son. Can you talk to me a little bit about, the dynamic of having Dennis in the group and talking to these fathers of, these transgender children, and, kind of a little bit about that kinship?
I mean, Dennis was right there at the conference for LGBTQ youth when he, Wayne, and Frank were discussing taking a trip to the woods. And I overheard that and invited myself along. And Dennis is a huge supporter of the Human Rights Campaign. You're right, he has not stopped in the 25 years since his son was killed. He and Judy are the reason why we have hate crime legislation today, but also he has created a path for other dads to show up and speak out.
3-time NBA champion Dwayne Wade is an executive producer on this film. I mean, I know why, but I would love for you to talk about, his involvement and, how he was able to come in and work with you on this film.
That is like one of the biggest surprises, other than Netflix reaching out after our South by Southwest premiere. Hearing that Dwayne Wade saw the film, loved it, and wanted to come on board as an executive producer, recognizing that he speaks to millions himself through his platform, and the responsibility that he has as a father of a trans daughter. He takes that responsibility so, to heart, and in the way that he shows up in loving and supporting her.
We're letting people know we're here. We're not going to shy away. We're not going to be in the shadows. We're not going to be scared. We're going to confront this head on, because that's all we can do. We have to make the way safe for our children.